day. He's still around.
Remember him duoing with the likes of Loco Doco and Mad Life back on the NA server before Korea had a server of its own. So he's one of the staples of the Korean League of Legends scene.
That's right. So into picks and bans for game number 1 between SKT and the Afreeca Freecs, the Thresh ban coming out against Snowflower. And to be fair, that's kind of Snowflower's main champion. It has been for a long time, but is it really ban-worthy?
We've seen a bit more Thresh. We saw it yesterday. I think Snowflower's Bard has actually been pretty impressive, but a lot of players in LCK, it feels like the Bard picker champion pool, the amount of people that are actually willing to pick up the Bard has increased in summer season as people look to MSI and the power of those ranged supports. Twisted Fate, so still Mickey eating bans. We've seen 3 mid lane bans pretty consistently against Afreeca, despite Mickey's struggles, at least relatively speaking, based on his recent performance.
Right. Second ban for SK Telecom, that Twisted Fate. Not a bad idea to ban that away from Mickey. And then Azir and Rise on the Afreeca side. And Shen, the final ban from SK Telecom. Shen's certainly been coming up. He had a pretty rough start in the picks we saw, but now things are looking a little bit better.
Gotta say, Jinair could learn something from SKT here. They had their struggles against Shen pick in particular, so seeing some respect for that champion who can go with the Trinity Force top lane. One of the best picks into Aurelia, and now where does Aurelia go in this draft? Because Duke is an excellent Aurelia player. Shen, one of the best answers. Trundle still exists, but SKT have been prioritizing Karma wherever possible. It is a flex pick for them. They will take it in the first pick.
Yep. Well, Karma's been a pretty priority pick for a lot of teams lately. SK Telecom grabbing that one, and now 2 picks over to the Afreeca Freecs. And yeah, we are in 6-11. This is my first cast on 6-11. Things have changed a lot in the top lane, haven't they?
The top lane meta does have a lot of carries, but it's also got this man. The Trundle has certainly...
He's not a man, he's a troll.
That's true.
Well, he's a man troll, I suppose.
There's a lot of man trolls out there.
That's true. Most of them are in Twitch chat right now. I love you guys.
You got him.
Real, I know. Zing. Oh, well. They're powerful too, right?
Now, Trundle in Spring was very much a flex pick though, but there's actually been only 1 game of Trundle support this whole season. It's been a staple of the top lane. It is a bit of a blocker pick to the Fiora, but is a skill matchup, as the opponents of Someday have come to find out.
Yep. All right, Sungwon just going with the safe Rek'Sai pick, it looks like. Will be Trundle Rek'Sai locked in.
When we saw these two play in the last series, it was 2 games of Swain, 2 games of Kindred from Linderung and Songwan, respectively, and neither of them looked particularly impressive. There's so much power still available, and Vlad coming through, and with the Insta-Vlad, that does seem to suggest Karma support.
Yeah, it does. I suppose there's always the off chance that it could go to top lane, but that seems so unlikely from what we've seen lately.
It's one of those things that could happen, like you say, but with the change in Vlad's kit, it feels like people aren't as confident running at top. Also, it's one of those really low-impact teleport top laners that doesn't really have a big flanking gank like a Maokai, for example. So going Ghost Flash, having that buffed Ghost, being able to get to those team fights seems to mean it's going to be mid-lane Vladimir.
Probably. And the Elise for Blank, possibly. Yep, going to lock that one in.
Was 3-0 on that Elise in the MSI final. 3-0 this season on Elise. Been the staple pick of Blank. Has moved away from the Kindreds of the world toward more of the control junglers. Talia's available.
I was going to say, we have not yet seen Talia in LCK, but she is available now, so they could go for it.
I don't think we're going to see it, unfortunately, Doa.
Oh, well.
Saw Rookie messing around with it in the LPL, but otherwise it's been very little competitive Talia. I believe 1 game of CBLOL as well, but just not in the meta just yet.
Now, Mickey's Zed is something that's been often banned against him. What do you think about that matchup with Vlad, though? I don't know. I like the Anivia here. I mean, anything that can zone out the Vladimir has been really useful. We saw SK Telecom themselves actually use that Anivia against the Vlad to pretty great effect.
Both in laning and in team fights, the wall has so many impacts against the Vladimir. It forces certain itemization. You can win the matchup, as Coco showed, in being able to beat Crown in the Vladimir versus Anivia matchup, but you have to be super aggressive, and Spirit Visage first is almost a requirement in terms of itemization.
Seems that way. So in the end, Braum and Lucian locked in for the Afreeca Freecs. Pretty powerful classic bot lane there, and the Sivir over on the SKT side would pair very nicely with the Karma and give Vlad that little speed boost to rule his way into the back lines, although he's probably going to be getting that Proto Belt to help propel himself. And who doesn't love a rocket-propelled vampire, right?
I mean, a rocket-propelled, when you're talking about Summon a Spell Ghost, Karma Sivir, and the Proto Belt, we're going to be seeing some Turbo Vladimir coming out, which is going to be fun to track. We haven't seen Tarek from SKT. It's been a KT special.
I think this is a Kim Dong-jun trolling special from...
It is. It definitely is, but...
Yeah. All right, so the Sivir locked in. What do you think about the Fiora?
See, the matchup against Trundle can definitely go poorly. We've seen more Trundles beat Fioras, but with jungle pressure, which is something that Blank has been excellent at, Fiora can certainly run away with the matchup, as Someday showed.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot about Blank and his pathing. Blank has been outstanding in pathing. The last time SKT played Fiora was against Jin Air. They lost that game. Bengi showed no pressure for the Fiora, and they lost lane, which shouldn't be a surprise. You need to give that pick pressure as we wait to see. If we do see Zed, there will be almost no magic damage on the side of Afreeca. They need magic damage from somewhere.
It does seem like it's easy to itemize against, but then again, there really isn't a tank on the SK Telecom side. I suppose Elise could arguably be a tank, but So
Afreeca,
I think they need some magic damage, yeah.
We've seen Mickey play this Kassadin before. The matchup can be painful, but might be navigable against the Vladimir.
I mean, I still like the Anivia. I feel like you can zone Fiora out, you know, not as well as you can zone Vlad out, but you can make it harder for her to get into the back line if she tries to teleport behind a team fight or something like that.
Well, they're not going to go the way of the Anivia. This is, of course, Mickey. He loves the aggressive pick. He's not into the standard wave because he had his Lulu time, but he's put it past him.
Suppose.
Risky pick, though, with the Kassadin, and it also means that wave clear for this Afreeca Freecs lineup is melee range or kind of absent in general.
I suppose that's true. So Kassadin, when's the last? I feel like we haven't seen Kassadin in LCK for a little while.
Mickey played it last series. They didn't win that one, so he's been some teams are messing around with Kassadin, but certainly isn't the staple Kassadin first pick, first ban meta that we saw a couple of years ago.
That's right.
Interesting stuff. So SKT have a draft, which in team fights will be strong. We'll get Vladimir into the backline, but when you have this Fiora, you're more looking, as you mentioned, for the split push. So it's going to be honestly a lot on Blank setting up Duke to succeed, because it's always risky when you try to opt into team fights with the Fiora, and as you mentioned, a very low tankiness comp.
True. Once again, Faker, the only one allowed to wear the red jacket. Apparently, you have to be very skillful to do that. We've heard. I thought he might have to take it off after the Lulu game last week. And the LeBlanc game.
Oh boy. 0-5-0 LeBlanc.
Don't remind me, that game was painful to watch.
It's Faker's third ever competitive game on the Vladimir. It's 2-0, so another one of those undefeated runs for Faker. Could extend this series.
True. Very true. And the Afreeca Freecs looking to gain a little bit of momentum. A win over SK Telecom would be huge here. And SKT, after that embarrassing loss to Jin Air, they need to prove that they are still the team that needs to be considered as on another level from the rest of the teams here in Korea. See if they can, though.
Anything other than a clean 2-0, that's bad for SKT.
That's right. Time to get in the game. SK Telecom versus the Afreeca Freecs. It's go time. Welcome to Summoner's Rift for SK Telecom versus the Afreeca Freecs. Game number 1. And the Africa fans out in force, of course. That was not supposed to rhyme, but kind of did anyway. Don't worry about it. An Ocean Drake. First dragon. So for once, not a Cloud Drake.
That's
all right.
right.
Fist bump. Yeah.
We're cloud sober, Doa. No clouds today.
That's right. Not yet, anyway.
Ironically, also one of the most prominent Korean beers is Cloud also.
That's true. But it's kind of pronounced more like Cloud or something like that. I don't know. They try to get all
K-L-O-U-D for our English fans.
Yeah. Which, as far as Korean beers go, which are generally terrible, Cloud isn't actually that bad.
I'm told it's made in the same factory as some of the imported beers, so getting inspiration from Western beers seems to have helped.
Outside of Korea?
No, in Korea.
How do you make an imported beer in the
country
like that you're drinking it?
Foreign labels, let's say.
Okay. Sure.
Imported recipes, we'll call.
I see. Just like Doritos became Dodohan.
And Coca-Cola, of course.
Yeah, that's right. Well, actually, that's the official licensed version of Bugles in Korea. Interestingly enough, it's the same exact thing. Well, what do you think about this mid lane? Faker versus Mickey, obviously the big rivalry here, but what do you think about the matchup between Vlad and Kassadin specifically?
I mean, it's a painful one. It's range versus melee, so of course the auto attack trades will go in. There's more sustain available for Vlad. If you're able to bait out the shield from the Q, your trades are going to go pretty well. So in general, Afreeca have gone for a very risky draft. They do have double teleport. If they can get Linderung rolling against you, they could potentially overwhelm SKT, who may not have the resources if Fiora is way behind to actually deal with the 1-3-1. But when you talk about reliable, consistent things like wave clear, like initiation, Afreeca doesn't have the best options for that. So it's honestly going to be a lot on the junglers. Can Sungwon or Blank set up their lanes better? And Blank, as we just mentioned him, is already up top.
Yep. Sungwon coming up to try to stop this. Linderung already very, very low. Here comes the Rek'Sai. Duke slowed down by that pillar. He's got a flash. Teleport coming in from the mid lane already. All right, actually, no, they're going to go and knock up Duke. Duke taken out. There's a kill for Mickey right off the bat. Now Blank in a lot of trouble here. He's still got his flash. Not going to have to use it. But that kind of backfired a little bit, didn't it?
And the arms race to gank for top went to the nth degree. It took a teleport from Mickey to guarantee it, but well, look at the itemization. He actually started Dark Seal, so casually has 2 stacks on the Kassadin, so that's pretty happy days for Mickey. But setting up the Trundle versus Fiora matchup will tell a lot about this game, and so far so good for Afreeca.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, exploiting the fact that Faker couldn't follow up to the top lane like Mickey could.
Faker expected it. He could have ghosted early between the lanes, but it would have been a big investment. Faker always known to not be trigger happy on these summoners, really hold on to them for the last second. And whether he could have actually been relevantly involved as a pre-6 Vladimir, even if he ghosted up, remains to be seen. But
probably not.
Held on to the summoner and early advantage to Afreeca Freecs.
That's right. Faker will get a few more CS in lane for the moment. Not that we'll see that matter a whole lot, probably. But standard lanes, I feel like we haven't seen a ton of standard lanes. But when you've got 2 top laners kind of aiming to split, you probably want to give them the 1v1, huh?
Well, no team's really hugely incentivized to lane swap in this particular game, and Blank has been so good about his pathing. He was the first one there. It was just, honestly, Linderung was very smart. You noticed, instead of running towards his chart, he ran down towards Sungwon, forced the flash early, got the counter flash, and the teleport out of Mickey. So Afreeca invested a lot. Both summoners on their mid laner, summoners on their jungler and top laner, but they thought out the situation, they weren't overawed, and they come up with the early advantage.
True. Well, blue buff being handed over to Mickey, as you would imagine. I like that Kassadin skin too, it's kind of cool.
Was the Oceanic server skin as well. Cosmic Reaver Kassadin.
Oh really?
If you were an Oceanic player, you got a discount on it. Not a freebie though.
Oh. Nice. I'll have to log into my Oceanic account.
Yeah. You have one, don't you?
I actually do, but I think I've only played like 1 game on it.
I think you talked about playing with me back when I was in Australia, but then found out that the ping wasn't great.
Yeah, believe it or not, Australia does not have the greatest connections. It seems like.
One of those topics that people always talk about. The British always talk about the weather. Aussies always talk about their internet.
It's a modern shift to the conversations in Australia.
That's right.
But seems like it makes sense. But you're here in the land of great internet now, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, people always ask me about the differences between a career in Australia. And Australia is obviously my homeland, and I love it dearly, but the internet factor is very one-sided.
Blank looking for a cocoon over the wall, maybe.
I think he's level 5, doesn't have Riftwalk or Flash. That's why they're considering this.
Could try to gank this. They don't really know where someone
Well, this is pretty obvious now.
I don't know about this, yeah. Okay, well, it turned into a zoning play. They're just going to try to get a bit of damage onto the turret. I feel like if they pulled the trigger on that one a little bit quicker, they might have been able to do. Whoa, Faker goes in a little bit deep, takes a turret shot for his trouble. I'm worried about Faker, Papa Smithy. After that Jin Air match.
You didn't even see the LeBlanc game, Doa.
No, I did. I did see the. I went back and watched it later. I didn't watch it live like I watched the Lulu game.
Oh boy.
Like I said, after that Lulu game, I'm like, all right, I just can't take this. I won't be able to sleep if I keep watching this. So.
Faker had a great season last season, but he was over-aggressive for large portions of it. It wasn't punished necessarily, but his aggression on champions like Karma last season was there for everyone to see. The fact that he played the LeBlanc and his first death was literally getting solo killed by the enemy jungler who was holding lane was a really peculiar one. And now we see him blow that ghost very early. I think it was a zoning ghost, which I don't think we've ever had. That's never been a sentence before, but we're crowning it now.
Why not? Nobody going for that Ocean Drake quite yet. Snowflower just blocking a bit of damage with that Braum shield. And now they're going in on the Bang. There's the exhaust use. Flash from Snowflower looking for that stun passive. They might be able to get it. Seungwon low. Passive flash out of the way of that return projectile from Bang. Bang. Where'd that come from? I guess PC Bang.
Yep.
SK Telecom Bang though. Yep. Couldn't get him with the Boomerang Blade though.
Songyun actually played that pretty poorly. He was following, he had his summoner available, still had heal, and then because of the Q and how he missed position, he had to flash heal instantly, both defensively. So big initiation play from Snowflower, using both his summoners aggressively, and Songyun using both of his defensively, meant that the bottom lane just wasn't on the same page for Afreeca.
Here's an opportunity for Faker and Blank here, but Mickey, level 6, man, he's past that, so he's got that Rift Walk, so it's going to be pretty tough to catch that Kassadin now.
Gank in the lane, certainly not going to be of great use. We'll see what Mickey's doing in terms of leveling. He's maxing Qs, so his wave clear is certainly going to be completely dwarfed by what Faker's going to be able to put out. So Faker should have a lot of options when it comes to really pushing in this Kassadin, forcing him to use all his mana, trying to wave clear.
And I feel like Afreeca's okay with that. I mean, Faker's the one that needs to be worried about ganks here. To a certain extent, as much as a Vlad does, I suppose.
The seesaw matchup is the top lane, so if they're just trading CS between Kassadin and Vlad, it's pretty happy times for Afreeca, and Linderung so far hasn't seen a return visit as his summoners back up. SKT once again not able to set up for Duke to have a big early game on this Fiora, and honestly there's more defensive vision for Linderung than there is for the Fiora, which is, to me, a mistake or an oversight from SKT.
Yeah. Faker the one getting pushed back a little bit in lane for the moment.
So far the trades have looked pretty good from Mickey. As we said, he's maxing Q, so it's not the return windows for the Vladimir to get in those trades. You can also time the Q from Kassadin for the empowered Q that comes through from Vladimir, who of course now has to charge up his healing, so you can really influence trades. There's the ult popped from Duke.
Yeah, Duke going for it, but it's tough, man. I mean, he really can't win that duel convincingly yet with the Trundle. Possibly never. I mean, Linderung just pops the ultimate, and that's about it. But now, SK Telecom looking for a dragon, but now Blank gets a bit caught. There's the teleport coming down. Wolf and Blank escaping into lane. Linderung finishes the teleport.
Well, they're really investing in this one.
Oh boy, here's the dive. But the Trundle's not going to be quite as tanky as he normally would be because Duke just got the ultimate out of him. Big knock up those, Bang taken down. Songyun pops the culling, and they're just going to get 3 kills under turret. No problem. Nobody even really getting that low aside from Seungwon, but he's safe. Nobody from SK Telecom around him. That was really clean.
But it was really manly, too. They went for the true dive. They didn't even bring up the minion wave. They could have had Lucian ult the wave or both dash in and Q the wave. Instead, they just went for a full turret dive. Seungwon's tanking was really smart. They're going to get the Ocean Drake as well. Once again, Faker doesn't use the Ghost, and now he's in trouble.
Yeah, Mickey comes in with the TP. Faker pops his ultimate, but he's hasn't had to use any summoners yet, so he will get out. But, you know, we saw SK Telecom trying to do what they could to make this dragon harder for Afreeca Freecs. Duke, you know, all-inning Linderung for just enough to get that Trundle ultimate out, but it didn't matter. Linderung just TPing in anyway, and then executing this pretty clean dive under the turret.
This is, of course, the buffed turrets in the new patch, but they're so smart at tanking out the turret. Seungwon takes exactly the right amount of shots, backs off when he can. They have members who have repositions, so they trade tank well. They didn't even need the minion wave. I didn't think that was possible, but an easy triple kill for Afreeca Freecs.
Well, I thought, yeah, with the Trundle ultimate down, they would just probably give up on a play like that, but they're crazy, man. They're crazy, but it works, and SK Telecom finds themselves behind about 2,000 gold.
And again, we have to talk about the fact this is, again, a new 5-man lineup for Afreeca, Linderung and Seungwon, and you have to be so clean in your shot calling, because we've seen those sort of attempts where a team over-invests. They invest a teleport when they didn't need to, and they're like, oh crap, I have to make this work. And then it goes horribly pear-shaped. A couple of kills are given over to SKT. Instead, they trade tank well, they have good ability to choose their targets, and they pick up the 3 kills. So credit to Afreeca. They kind of over-invested, but they made it work.
Right. Well, they had that decisiveness, you know? And sometimes just simply following through with a plan, even if it's not the greatest plan, gives you the greatest edge to make it work.
5v3 and a turret went to the 5, so that's at least something to know moving forward.
Yep.
be early power on the sides of Afreeca. We see already the Yoma's Ghostblade and 5 stacks onto the Dark Seal for Mickey. So Rod of Ages at a good time, and also the stacks means that this Kassadin is much further ahead than expected. And this is against Faker, someone who's known to bully weak laning champions.
Well, Faker, the one getting bullied for sure right now.
I mean, Mickey's teleported out of lane twice and finds himself at equal CS with the Vladimir. So
yeah,
that lets you know that it's Mickey the one that's dominating this lane.
Well, Duke pops the challenge onto Linderong. Linderong trying to back away. He's got that flash, so really not in any danger. Didn't have the Trundle ultimate, so Duke thought maybe he had an opportunity. Pushes up the lane a little bit regardless. Doesn't have any vision though, so he's got to be pretty careful.
Both top laners heavily invested into Ninja Tabi, which saw a buff on 6-11.
Now Sungwon was spotted, so Duke knows he can be a bit more aggro up in the top lane here. Oh, that's very aggro though. Linderong getting very low. Has the Trundle ultimate back just in time. Wins the duel, flashes, goes down to Duke, and Linderong wins the duel against Duke. I think Duke just barely mistimed the timing on the Trundle ultimate. Linderong got it back just when he needed it. Oh boy.
And a solo kill by the new top laner Linderong, who hasn't picked up a competitive victory on SKT's best performer this season, Duke.
Yeah.
This early game, 5-0, seems eerily reminiscent of the last series against Jinair for SKT.
Well, SK Telecom just looking kind of lackluster here in any way you can really think of at the moment. It's disturbing to see, but we'll see what happens.
We're very close to codifying that worrying trend, though.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, this one certainly, if it keeps going the way it's going, it's looking pretty good for Afreeca. But looking at the late game, how do you think these two compositions stack up?
I mean, when you see double teleport on one side, you really are incentivized to give the advantage to Afreeca, but you look at the champions, I don't know if there's going to be a person who can enter lane against both Kassadin and Trundle. Different damage types, different stats required. This Fiora right now is behind compared to a lane opponent, hasn't got any magic resist at all, so I feel like Afreeca is just going to have so many different options that will overwhelm what SKT are able to do in the late game.
Yeah, I gotta say too, Mickey is owning Faker pretty hard in the mid lane right now. The rivalry continues. It's a good one. Mickey's a great mid laner. And you know he loves these 1v1s, right? You know he loves it when he just gets to sit in lane and try to show that he can go toe-to-toe with Faker, and he's doing it today.
He's the sort of guy that goes out there, plays confident with his collar up. Oh, we see a trade here.
Maybe a little bit too confident as Blank comes in with the Cocoon. He's going to turn it around, though. Faker very low, but Mickey may have overstepped his bounds. No, gets healed in the end. That summoner heal used as Songyun came in, and they force SK Telecom to back off.
Definitely Mickey were playing with too much confidence. It turned out that SKT had members closer than Afreeca.
Yep.
But Afreeca's entourage comes in, they won't be able to push down the turret. Sivir rotates, so not going to punish in the bottom lane, so it ends up being pretty even, except that once again Faker doesn't invest any summoners, and Mickey has to flash away.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a win there for SK Telecom, but the Afreeca Freecs able to just respond with the Rift Herald.
Already doing pretty well in that top lane match, and if Trundle now packs the Rift Herald as well,
very good point.
He's going to be in a great spot against Duke's Fiora, who, we have to mention it, just hasn't got that love and attention that a Fiora needs to get big. Needs a jungler usually to impact the lane to get that Fiora rolling. It just hasn't happened this game.
Yeah, Mickey already starting a little bit of a split push down in bot lane, and Afreeca probably thinking about that next dragon too. Duke's lost a lot of health on that turret as well.
They have the power spikes. They've got the Yoma's Ghostblade on the Lucian, soon to be Black Cleaver. Black Cleaver this game, you look at the lineup, 4 AD damage dealers, well 3 and a Braum, but regardless, it's going to be a big pickup for them. Faker's looking really aggressive on Songyun.
Yeah, Snowflower comes right in though. Has that shield.
Looks like it might be a burst build from Mickey. It's got what looks like the makings of another big AP purchase. Maybe the Luden's Echo coming next for the Kassadin.
Could be.
Could be Lichbane as well.
Ooh, a Mountain Drake started by SK Telecom. This would be a big pickup for them. They need this kind of thing to stay in the game. Let's see if Afreeca Freecs can take it away. Only Snowflower there at the moment, but everyone else coming down. There's a teleport. SK Telecom finishes off the dragon in time. Nice Braum ultimate. Hitting Blank, hitting Bang. They're going to pick up the kill on Bang right away. And when Blank comes down, nope, not going to get out. So a double kill going over to Linderong. So Mountain Drake is great for SKT, but a double kill on the split-pushing Trundle, not so good for SKT. I don't know. Who do you think came out on top of that one? I feel like Afreeca Freecs maybe still looking a little bit better overall. 2
kills for the Drake is very much a line ball. The fact that it's Mountain is important, but the fact that Afreeca here is probably going to take this mid lane turret will definitely tip it over to Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, they will. 7 kills to 0 right now. Only 1 Drake, no turrets for SK Telecom. Teleport coming in though. Duke trying to make a play on the Songyun, possibly no, deciding to change his mind, and that teleport just completely wasted now. And in the meantime, Nikki takes top lane.
And we're watching on our screen also the replay that was pretty straightforward, the double TP, getting the Trundle pillar in, nowhere to go for Blank, who didn't have his teleport. And then, as you say, a big investment in terms of another summoner from the side of SKT for no kill, losing a turret. Gold lead's now growing. It's 7,000 gold lead to Afreeca Freecs.
Yeah, man. I didn't even notice the replay on the other monitor because I was just watching Duke TP in there for nothing. And whoops. I thought Duke was going to do a bit more, but no.
It's not what Fiora does. Fiora's not the greatest champion for teleport flanks or any sort of teleport engages. You want to split push, therefore you want to have early pressure. But from the moment that Afreeca invested in Mickey's teleport to get the top lane matchup rolling, and importantly to get Mickey rolling.
Yeah, Wolf needs to be really careful going that close to that Kassadin. Mickey's doing a ton of damage right now.
Fed Kassadin is an AP assassin, and ranged supports have always been food for champions like Kassadin.
And it's hard to feed him too because he's got that big mask thing over his mouth. How does he even eat? How do you even feed this guy?
These are the questions that keep me up at night, Noah.
I know, right? Me too. But I'm not the only one. Oh, Faker trying to make a play on the Mickey here. Blank having to back away. Mickey gets out just in time. Afreeca Freecs trying to disengage, and they will get the kill onto Faker. Faker getting a bit too aggressive again. Whoa, Songyun may not have wanted to flash in for that one. That was a bit overeager, but in the end, they don't give up a kill, so ends up being just fine, I would say.
They don't invest all their members either. Trundle was just split pushing casually up top this whole time.
Yep.
So it won't be a perfect game, even if things stay this way. There was 1 Dragon, or 1 Drake, over to SKT.
This is going to be about as close to a perfect game as we've seen people get against SK Telecom in I don't know how long.
I mean, this SK Telecom lineup has never been perfect gamed in the history of their existence.
Yep.
So
still won't now, but it's about as close as it gets.
What a world we live in. Everything made so much sense a week ago.
It did, yeah. I mean, I leave, and this whole league just goes insane.
I mean, the first day when SKT completely dominated MVP, it was pretty much business as usual, but ever since then, results have been really up in the air, and out of nowhere, SKT with now Blank and previously Bengi have just not looked the same team.
That's right. Linderon going in under Duke here. Snowflower joining the party as well. Duke has some flash. Braum ultimate used. They get the knockup. They've got the passive, and an easy kill for Linderon, and he is just a monster on this 5-0-1 Trundle. Faker in big trouble again. No turret to help you. Pulls his way out of there, but still showing that he cannot do anything against Mickey right now.
5-0-1 Trundle versus 0-3-0 Fiora. Yep, Fiora will have no chance to stand up to either Trundle or Kassadin in the split push. They don't even need to coordinate their teleport time as Baron started. It's at half health now.
Well, yeah, they turn away from the Baron, going in onto Blank here, gets trapped by that pillar. He's going to repel to nowhere, and meanwhile, Wolf decides to give up a kill as well. 2 kills for the Afreeca Freecs. They can churn right around onto that Baron. Uh-oh. See, here's the real thing. I feel like the real problem is that interview where the SK Telecom coach was like, hey, I'm sorry for saying we were going to be bad. We're actually really good. And as soon as he said that, Papa Smithy, look what happens.
Are you ready for the most Korean re-apology and apologizing about his apology?
He's like, I'm sorry, guys. I know I said we were bad, and then we were good, so I said we were good. But then after I said we were good, we were bad. So I'm sorry we're bad, because apparently we're not good. I don't know what happens here.
I mean, this is just a shooting gallery for the Afreeca Freecs. There's no way to run away from Mickey. He's so strong ever since he got that first kill. This Kassadin just casually jumping, assassinating members. Flash or flash not on the side of SKT. It doesn't make a difference. And this is just the biggest hole I've seen SKT in a game. I mean, 0-11 kill score.
It's not as big as a hole that's growing in my heart, Papa Smithy. My beloved SK Telecom. What is going on here?
I mean, every relationship has its good days and its bad days, Noah. This is the tests you have to go through.
That's true, and I'm no fair weather fan, man. That's for sure.
Really? What about that rough weather SK Telecom?
No. Hey, we live in Seoul. The weather's always rough here.
That was 2014, and you guys were still decent back then.
Yeah, no, I have never given up on SKT.
Maybe for this one game, though, you shouldn't have too many high hopes.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Honestly, this draft shouldn't have worked from Afreeca. It's very high risk, but they basically they took the risk, right? They made their gambles. They went for the teleport play top. If you do that and you don't get the kill or a couple members die, you probably lose the game. If you go for that 5-man dive with no minions, don't pull it off, you probably lose the game. SKT are one of the best teams in the world with playing with early snowball, except this time both bets paid off for Afreeca, and they're reaping the rewards.
I just spent the last like 30 seconds looking into the SK Telecom booth, and nobody is talking. Like, nobody. It is not looking good in there.
You know what they say, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, when you're losing a game this badly, what really is there to say? But still, man, it's a rough one. Looks like another Ocean Drake up. Not that it may matter a whole lot with Afreeca pushing so hard with the Baron buff. Going after Linderong now, but Blank slowed down by the Pillar of Filth.
It's a Pillar of Ice now, Doa.
Well, that looks like filth to me. Well, but was I talking about the Trundle ability or SK Telecom's play this game?
Oh,
that's the question.
You're back, Doa.
I'm going to leave the mystery up to you. I'm back.
Lichbane orders mean this turret's not long for the world.
Yeah, that's right. Going after the inhibitor now. Faker slowed down, has to pull. That Braum passive just too dangerous, doesn't want to get stunned. And the Afreeca Freecs rotating to the mid lane now where Linderong is already beating down that turret. Well, you say GG.
I can, and it's just, again, it's surreal. The loss to Jin Air was surreal, but this is even more so because of how one-sided this game has been. SKT once again pick this Fiora and don't set up for it effectively. Either you don't play aggressive, or you really hold back as Duke in lane, you don't look to trade, so you don't get abused by something like the Mickey teleport. Speaking of which, double teleport.
Yeah, double TP, and I think it's kind of a victory lap. They're going to go in on this fight. They're going to force the repel immediately. Duke gets knocked up, trying to go in, trying to do damage. Really can't make it happen. There goes the turret. Taking a little bit of damage here. Faker able to get something done with that Vlad, but Afreeca just backs off calmly, takes the last inhibitor. And they're going to recall and get ready for that final push of the game. And SK Telecom still with 0 turrets. I can't remember the last time I saw a game where SK Telecom got 0 kills and 0 turrets.
We'll have to look to other people to confirm, but I don't know if there's ever been such a game, Doa. SKT have certainly had their losses, but the nature of this particular one, literally only a single Drake to show for 25 minutes play. Just insane.
Yeah, seriously, in my years of casting SK Telecom, I think this is possibly the most one-sided loss I have ever seen them endure.
I mean,
in a single game.
How do you evaluate the strength of SK Telecom if they lose to both Jin Air and then Afreeca Freecs? I mean, we wondered that in spring season and
very true.
Ended up eating our words later. There's still a very long season ahead of us, but SKT's season has gone pear-shaped just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I mean, a couple matches isn't the end of the world. Obviously, they've got a lot of season left here, but it is a little bit odd. Duke trying to come from behind, but there's just no power on this Fiora. SK Telecom moving in. They get the Cocoon onto Linderong, but he's so tanky right now. Culling doing a bit of damage to Faker as he backs in and out of the fight. Mickey gets exhausted here, but he can just kind of wait that ability out. Summoner not a big impact, does a ton of damage to Duke on the way back in. And it looks like Afreeca Freecs ready to end this one. Going in on the Nexus turret. They take one out. A kill onto Duke immediately, who's had a pretty rough game on that Fiora. Another one goes down. There goes the Nexus. Bang backing away. They want another couple kills. Faker low. A double kill now for Mickey as he takes out Blank. And there it is. The most one-sided loss I have seen SK Telecom take in recent memory. Afreeca Freecs dominating Faker in the game, or the gang in game number 1.
13-0 in kills, 11-0 in turrets, a single Drake to show for the game for SK Telecom T1. Surreal stuff. Afreeca went for the risky draft, but they rolled the dice twice. They pulled off the level 3 gank in the top lane, investing that teleport from the Cassidy. The 5-man gank with no minions in the bottom lane. Yeah. They took out 3, and the snowball from there was clear for everyone to see.
I mean, that's really it, isn't it? They just were able to snowball that composition extremely well.
Doa, I've got a worrying stat for you. 2 games in a row. Faker, 0-6-0 altogether. No kill involvement in 2 games for Faker. First on LeBlanc,
that's unheard of.
now the Vladimir.
It's insane, man. Can't believe it. But what a great start for the Afreeca Freecs. I mean, this is a team that, frankly, we're expecting a bit more from coming into this season. And it's nice to see them finally put up some good games. We'll see if it continues, I suppose.
With Songwon and Linderang, who both played really well. The shot calling was good. The ability to tank the turret was pinpoint exact.
Yeah.
Easy MVP for the Kassadin. Mickey was wonderful this game. His best performance in a long time. He turns back the clock, and it's fittingly against his rival. Maybe it's a one-sided rivalry, but that rivalry might be heating up because Faker was made to look pretty average this game.
Hey man, Faker got rocked hard this game by Mickey, and I'm sure if it ends up being a win, Mickey's not going to let him forget that in the post-game interview.
Are you ready, Doa? Oh, baby.
I'm ready, man. We'll see if Mickey gets the MVP for one of these games. When we come back, SK Telecom, Coma and the gang got to figure out a way to turn this one around. We'll see if they can tie it up, but I think we're in for a good series here.
Doesn't look angry yet, but you have to think the anger is rising in Coma. His team looked very ordinary.
You know it's in there. Just like the Hulk, Coma's secret is that he's always angry. I'm pretty sure. We'll see if he hulks out in game number 2, though. I don't know. Afreeca Freecs still looking pretty happy in the booth, but they got to keep it up. One win is not a match win. When we come back, SK Telecom versus Afreeca Freecs, game number 2. Don't go anywhere, guys. LCK on OGN will be right back.